About to go out to the phone lines and welcome in Jimmy Stein at QB_country on the Twitter account. On 3 Sports Bama analyst, the recruiting coordinator at QB Country, co-host of Locked On Bama podcast, Inside the Crimson Tide on Sports Talk 99.5 Thursday and Friday, and that's just what he can fit in his Twitter bio. Jimmy, welcome into the show, man. How are you doing this morning?
Doing great. I appreciate you having me on.
Absolutely. Plenty of quarterback names to dive into and get an idea of, and with Bryce Young yesterday meeting with the media for the very first time, I'm just kind of curious what your impressions were of him in those 12 minutes that we got to speak with him, and his discussions on what his leadership skills were like and how to battle the expectations that come with being the starting quarterback at Alabama.
Well, I'd seen him speak before, so I wasn't as stunned or shocked by it as I would have been had I never seen him speak before, but he is remarkably poised and mature. He is outstanding in front of the camera. I think for such a young player to have that sort of maturity, to be able to handle that, it's unbelievable. I won't be surprised, Jake, if whenever his football career ends, whether it's 4 years from now or 20 years from now, I won't be surprised at all if he has a career in sports broadcasting in some capacity, because he's that good. Just real mature. You can tell the leadership skills, all the intangibles. I remember when Bryce was a prospect, and I would brag on how good I thought he was going to be. I would often start with the intangibles, which really showed themselves in his time on the Zoom call with the media yesterday. Just really bright, really poised, really mature, natural leadership skills. And then you just throw in the physical ability at the end, his feet, his release, the arm talent, the speed, the overall athleticism. You can see why he was one of the most highly recruited quarterbacks in the country in his class.
No doubt about it. He's a cool cat. And, I guess that's that, Southern California kind of lifestyle, just showing out in him. But, that all those, qualities that you just listed off, those are kind of the baseline of what makes for a great quarterback. But then when you get into the athletic skill, somebody that I've kind of talked about a little bit in my comparisons with him, I like the Russell Wilson thing with him yesterday, talking about a guy that he watches film on. But just in college football, from an excitement standpoint, I kind of think of a Johnny Manziel where, strictly on the field, of course, but at a Johnny Manziel that can, provide that sort of excitement, whether it's pirouetting in the pocket, making guys miss, and then slinging it downfield with even more arm talent than Johnny had. What kind of play style are you expecting out of him? The level of success that we're expecting from Bryce Young here in year one as a starting quarterback?
Yeah, Jalen Hurts was very athletic. Tua was athletic, but neither of those guys, I think, has Bryce's pure athletic skill in terms of how quick his feet are. He's a lot twitchier than those guys. You know what I mean? I mean, he'll make people miss. I mean, in the open field, almost like a punt returner. I mean, he'll make people just flat out miss, and then he'll run by people. So I think his athleticism is just one more step forward from where Alabama was with the Jalen and with the Tua, who are both plus athletes, for the position. And in terms of playing style, I like both comparisons you made, particularly Russell Wilson, because, even though Russell's very athletic, I think everybody who watches him play now thinks of him as a passer first. Mm-hmm. And I think that's how Bryce would like people to view him is, hey, yes, I'm a good athlete, but I can really throw the ball. And that's what I think of with Russell and with Bryce. In high school, I was comparing him to Kyler Murray quite a bit, which isn't really fair in the sense, Kyler was a Heisman winner and first pick in the draft, and that just puts such unfair expectations. But I think his game is similar to Kyler's. And by that, I mean, similarly sized. I think Kyler at the same stage was a little more athletic than even Bryce. I think, Kyler can really, really run, and Bryce can too, but I think Kyler, just a little faster, a little twitchier, but Bryce may be a little bit more polished of a passer at the same stage, coming out of high school. So I think Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray sort of That's what he's going to be like. Now, it's not fair to expect that level of performance, but I won't be surprised.
What about the arm strength with Bryce? A 6 foot tall quarterback that's pushing 200 pounds at best. You kind of think about, can he push the ball downfield? Can he fit that velocity throw in over the middle? When you talk about Russell Wilson, he's a 6 foot tall quarterback too, but one of his best traits is the ability to push the ball downfield. Do we kind of see similar things with Bryce Young now that he's got guys like Jameson Williams who can really push the field?
I think it's good enough. I think it might be one of those traits in just terms of velocity and arm strength, period. I think it's good enough. Is it something that's going to be, among the best in the SEC? Probably not. I mean, just in terms of being able to, fire a ball through the car wash and the ball doesn't get wet. He's not one of those guys, but he can, I would say he has adequate arm strength for the position in this league, which means he has plenty of arm. Now, is it, it's not going to be something that the NFL is going to grade as an A+ sort of thing with him, but it's good enough. And the deep ball, he has enough arm to where the deep ball will be very effective. But Bryce has such a feel for the position. He's going to throw the deep ball on time, and that's as important as anything else. With him, it's going to be on time. He's very accurate. He's very instinctive. He has some anticipation skills. All those things add up to an accurate deep ball. It's not just about the ability, to fling it 70 yards on a rope.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, we see, past 2 weeks with Mac Jones, that's been the case, with being able to push the ball downfield with the Patriots. Tua very much in the same sense. Tua has a much more stronger arm than Mac, but I digress. But a guy that does have a very strong arm for the Alabama Crimson Tide, looks to have locked down that backup position, is Paul Tyson. Now, hopefully we don't have to see that much of Paul Tyson out of fourth quarters, except for fourth quarters this year. But what has he kind of improved on that you've seen here as training camps gotten underway?
I think with him now, with Paul also is a guy that has a great feel for the position. I'll tell you, the guy I've always compared Paul to, and he's sort of tracking him in a way, is Jacob Coker. I think there's some Coker in him. Big, strong guy who's played a lot of quarterback, who's played a lot of ball, who's very comfortable, who might not necessarily, you might not put an A+ in every box, but he checks every box. He's got a good arm. He's got some accuracy. He has some athleticism. But I think for a guy like Paul with his skill set, he will be at his best when he has a complete and total understanding of the offense, the offensive scheme, what the defense is doing, the ability to read defenses, the ability to go through your progressions and go to the right guy. That comes with experience. And as we all know with Jacob Coker's career, Jacob didn't really put it all together until his 5th year as a college quarterback. He was expected to and didn't beat out Blake Sims in his 4th year. And I think if you ask Jake now, he would tell you he just wasn't ready. He was ready in year 5. And by the time Jake was ready, he was really ready. Alabama won a national championship, and Coker was playing great down the stretch. I think that can be Paul. And I'm not saying it's going to take till year 5. I'm not saying that, although it could. I just think Paul will be at his best when he is really a coach on the field in terms of knowing where all his people are, being able to read the defense in motion. And I think that's when we'll really see Paul at his best. I think each year he's going to be a better quarterback, and he's better this year than he was last year. And I think he'll be a good number 2 guy for Alabama. And if he's pressed into duty, I think he'd be fine.
I agree with that. And a guy that has a lot of attention around him because of his impressive physique. He's got a good arm, and we just continue to hear his name brought up more and more and more. Is Jalen Milroe. What can fans kind of continue to see as he is growing into a quarterback here at Alabama?
Well, I'm super high on Jalen Milroe. I like him a lot as a prospect. I like him even more now. I mean, Alabama's had some physical specimens play quarterback in the past, but I've asked around for other opinions. I think Jalen Milroe is almost a first of his kind at Alabama in the history of the program. And by that, I mean, even on an impressive roster recruited and built by Nick Saban, out of the 85, 87 guys on the team right now, Jalen may be the most impressive on the whole team in terms of the size and speed package. You know, I don't know how many guys on the team that run like he does legitimately in the 4.4, 4.5 range are also as strong as he is. I mean, he's like, you know, a Will Anderson in that sense. I mean, this is a strength and size and speed package. But then you watch him throw the ball, and you'd never dream of moving him away from quarterback because he has legitimate next-level arm talent. Now, I think in terms of being a college passer, the things he needs to work on is, you know, going from a gifted thrower into becoming a gifted passer. And that's going to be, you know, sort of in development during his entire career at Alabama, similar to Jalen Hurts, who was such a better passer as a senior than he was as a freshman, as most kids do that really work on it. And I think Milroe will be a lot like that. But, I mean, his size and strength and natural athleticism is otherworldly. And then throw in the fact that he has real Sunday upside in that arm. And his potential is just through the roof. He's just got to learn how to play the position at this level, and that can take some time.
That's got to be one impressive arm. I mean, you know, Christian Story was you know, football man of the year kind of guy, and he still switched positions. So that's some exciting things to hear about Jalen Milroe. Makes a lot of sense why his name keeps coming up. We're talking with Jimmy Stein at QB_country on the Twitter account, recruiting coordinator for QB Country, on 3 Sports, Bama analyst, co-host of Locked On Bama podcast, and so much more. Jimmy, I do want to talk about, you know, the other embarrassment of riches with the recruits here in just a bit, but I do also want to make sure that we send some focus on the quarterbacks that are lining up for some of the top programs in the country. And of course, 15 days away, it's kind of that, you know, that real comparison where you've got a guy making his first start, and Derrick King's been playing college football for a really long time at a really, really high level. He is coming off the ACL, but by all accounts, it seems like he's ready to be healthy. What should Alabama fans expect to see out of King when the two meet up in Atlanta at the beginning of September?
You know, I think in terms of, it depends on when you've seen Derrick King. I think people have really wide opinions of him that haven't seen him play all the time. I think if you just pick and choose when you've seen Derrick, maybe you're not that impressed with him, or maybe you saw him when he was at his absolute best and you're blown away by him. He's been erratic is the wrong word, but you know, he's not always playing his absolute best. But when he does, he's fantastic. I think a lot of people might not remember when he was a sophomore. Now, this was at the University of Houston, but when he was a sophomore, he threw for 3,000 yards and had a 30-6 touchdown interception ratio. I mean, those are outstanding numbers, especially when you factor in he rushed for like another 700 yards. So he was wildly productive over the course of the season. Now, it doesn't stand up game to game against great competition. And now you factor in that he tore his ACL in January. So I'm not sure what you're going to get out of Derrick King two weeks from Saturday. But let me tell you, at his best, he's as good as anyone Alabama will face all season. You know, he's the quintessential dual threat guy. You absolutely cannot sleep on him as a passer. He'll scare you to death with his legs, but then when you overplay that, he'll burn you with the big play with his arm. Now that he's been playing college football for seemingly a decade, he's going to be pretty wise out there. I think Alabama's in for a pretty good test. Alabama is very experienced on defense going into the game. I think ultimately that's going to help a lot against Derrick. And he's not going to have the best supporting cast that Alabama will see all season. But King's a very good player, and it's a good test for Alabama in week 1.
No doubt about it. And you know, it'll be interesting to see how his kind of supporting cast helps him out. The Heisman front runner, no doubt, is in Oklahoma. And we were discussing a little bit yesterday on the game with Ryan Fowler how that schedule is really, really easy for him. Now, naturally, Iowa State, Texas, those are the big games. A lot of top programs have easier schedules because of the talent gap, but this should be a real opportunity for Spencer to put together a full season rather than starting slow and getting hot towards the end as he has here in the past, right?
That's right. He would be my pick going into the season as the likely Heisman winner or Heisman favorite, maybe even as the number one pick in the draft, as we've seen, a couple of years ago with Joe Burrow, who won the Heisman and then was the first pick, and Mac Jones had a similar type season a year ago and was in contention for the Heisman and then went 15th in the draft. I think this could be kind of the Spencer Rattler season. I mean, in terms of here's a guy who's capable of putting up monster numbers in that offense. He does have a great surrounding cast. He doesn't play a slew of elite defenses. Oklahoma is very likely to be in the middle of the national championship race. And in terms of his skill set, his tool set, he has the type of ability that you often see with the number one overall pick. So this could be a magical season for him. And maybe Oklahoma finally wins the big games they've been waiting on for quite a while.
If that defense is improved the way that it's been speculated, they've certainly got a shot with Rattler at QB. Last national kind of focused here with DJ Uiagalelei out at Clemson. We saw what he was capable of when he filled in for Trevor Lawrence for 2 games, took Notre Dame down to the wire in South Bend. This guy's got the goods.
Yep. Yeah, he's really gifted, talented kid. We all saw that last season, and now we'll see a lot of him. One thing that's interesting to me about DJ's career is that, in his one start, he lost. Now, it wasn't his fault. I think he threw for more yards against Notre Dame than anyone ever had in that stadium's history, against the Irish. That's what he did in his game one start, but he did lose the game or was on the losing end. Now, game one, playing a top 5, very talented Georgia team who's good on defense. It would be something if DJ, who's clearly going to have a great career at Clemson, it would be really strange if he got off to an 0-2 start.
It certainly would. Now let's look on the recruiting scene a little bit. Ty Simpson started his season last night with over 400 yards and 5 passing touchdowns. I saw a question a little bit ago from somebody that works at Roll Tide Wire. How is this guy not a consensus, 5-star? Simpson's really special on the field, though.
Yeah, I think of him that way, and he's actually one of our QB Country guys. QB Country, the company I work for that trains quarterbacks, is in 11 locations all over the South. And while Ty has trained in Mobile with David Morris, who's the head of QB Country, he also trains a lot with Thomas Morris, who is QB Country Memphis, and Ty's not far from there. So Ty's worked with Thomas quite a bit and with David Morris in Mobile. But yeah, when I looked at Ty's numbers last night, I had to double check and make sure that somebody wasn't reporting what he did on PlayStation, because that's what it looked like. I mean, like almost 400 yards, 5 touchdowns, ran for another, and did it all in a half. They took him out, at halftime because the score was getting out of control. Tyler is, the guy I compare him to, and again, I'm not saying he's as good as these guys, just what his skill set is like. He's a lot like Zach Wilson, who was the number 2 pick in this past draft, going to the Jets. And by that, I mean, Ty is a great athlete, first and foremost, but he's also a coach's son. And not just any coach's son. A lot of quarterbacks play for their dads, maybe in high school, or maybe their dad was their QB coach. But Ty's dad is a college football head coach, Jay Simpson at UT Martin. So Ty has grown up with football all around him. He plays that way on the field. He's a coach on the field, but he's also the best athlete on the field. And I think with Ty, it starts with his athleticism. But just when you get wowed by the athleticism and the coach on the field stuff, then you see the arm talent, and it's there. Like a Zach Wilson, Ty's very accurate. The ball gets out quickly. He's a little bit like Bryce in that way. And I think Ty has a huge career ahead of him, and Alabama is on quite a roll at the quarterback position.
And we're too greedy here in Tuscaloosa because in the class following is Art Manning, and we're talking about legacy here. We're talking about lineage and prestige. There's a handful of us around here at Tide that are more excited about Arch Manning down the pipeline than we are about Ty Simpson. Are we getting off track here, or is Arch really that good?
Arch is really that good. He really is. He's another QB country guy, so I tend to be a little biased about our guys, but no, Arch is he's really that good. The best way to describe him, I think, and I'm talking about at the same age as his uncles, but Arch is Peyton, but with wheels. I mean, Peyton was maybe one of the great pocket passers that's ever played the game. Arch has that sort of potential and upside from the pocket, but what makes him so hard to defend is Arch has a little bit of his granddad in him. Arch can make something happen with his legs. Now, not a 4.4 guy, not a Ty Simpson, not a Bryce Young, not like that, but let's just call it, he has plus athleticism for a pocket passer. And when it's 3rd and 6, and you've somehow gotten all 3 or 4 receivers covered, and you'll need to cover all of them because this kid can really whip through his progression. But when you get everybody covered, Arch can tuck it and get to the sticks. I mean, he's got some of his granddad's feet, and he's so smart, and he's driven, a real driven kid to come from his background. But there's no mistaking when you watch his tape who his uncles are. I mean, he's got a lot of the same mannerisms, the same throwing style, and he has decimated Uncle Peyton and Uncle Eli's records at Newman High School in New Orleans.
Not much. I was a Peyton Manning guy growing up, and he had a few bootlegs of his own, but yeah, no doubt about it. I always get excited when we start talking about Arch Manning. 2 local guys here in the Tuscaloosa area, Tanner Bailey, Ethan Crawford, getting their season started tonight. Both of these guys, incredibly exciting. Tanner Bailey already an Oregon commit. Crawford's got a few SEC offers as well, but I'm sure with his junior year about to get underway, he's about to really open up some eyes around the country as well. Talk about these 2 local kids here in the Tuscaloosa area.
Sure, yeah. Tanner, he's trained with QB Country in Birmingham in the past. He up at Gordo, really happy for him that he ended up at such a prestigious program. Oregon has produced a lot of NFL quarterbacks over the years. I think Tanner has that sort of upside. He's a passer first. Another kid is a good athlete, as they almost all are in ultra modern college football. Almost all these guys are really good athletes, and Tanner certainly is. But he's a passer first, accurate, gets the ball out quickly. That's the type of quarterback it takes these days. And Oregon has a good track record of developing quarterbacks. I think he made a really good decision on where he's going to play. He'll be surrounded by good players and sort of a pass-first league, and that's what kind of guy is. I'm expecting Tanner to have a good career at Oregon. And as for Ethan, most of his football is ahead of him. He's a super athlete. I mean, Ethan could play other spots. One of the things that I like most about Ethan's tape, and I know less about Ethan than the others because he's not one of the kids that our company trains, but Ethan is what I like most about him is he's a guy that you want to move outside the pocket. I mean, that's where he's at his best, is the RPO stuff and rolling out and off-platform throws and kind of backyard football. That's when he's at his best. But if you don't think he can sit in the pocket and pick you apart, you're crazy. He could really just do that. So what I really like about Ethan is there's not going to be an offense that he can't play in. I mean, it doesn't matter. In other words, ultimately, when you see his offer list, you're going to see 5, 6, 7 different types of schemes all offer Ethan. And he has a really bright future. Not the tallest kid, but sort of thing of the past to me. I mean, when some of the best quarterbacks in the world are Kyler Murray and Baker Mayfield and Russell Wilson and now Bryce Young coming down the pike, it's not as important as it used to be, and I don't think it's anything that's really going to hold Ethan back. He has a very bright future. In terms of where he's ranked, I think he'll be ranked next year similarly to where you see Tanner ranked now.
A lot of exciting quarterback play to keep an eye on concerning the Alabama Crimson Tide as well as the national scene. And we appreciate your expertise on it. Jimmy Stein on 3 Sports, QB Country, Locked On Bama, Crimson Tide on Sports Talk 99.5 on Thursdays and Fridays. Jimmy, man, we really appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day, dude.
I appreciate it, Jacob. Anytime.
Absolutely. Jimmy Stein of QB Country.